17th, 1903. The place was Kitty Hawk. Something new was happening in the skies above North Carolina. Humans at last found a way to join the birds. It was the first time ever that a machine carrying a man powered itself successfully through the air. What Wilbur and Orville Wright achieved would both open up the skies and shrink the planet. It would change civilization permanently. It's been about a century since Kitty Hawk, and now the skies are full of planes and full of people. Right at this moment, at any moment, there are about 60,000 people in the air, and about as many waiting to go up. A plane lands and a plane takes off every 3.5 seconds. Flying has become normal, almost natural. It's just something people do. It's routine. Building planes has become routine too. 6 million individual parts. 170 miles of wiring, 5 miles of tubing. On average, $100 million worth. In a sense, each airplane is built 2 or 3 times over. That's for safety's sake. A lot of the systems, both mechanical and electronic, need to be replicated once or even twice, so that if one system fails, another is ready to take its place. But how is an airplane made? For a machine so large, fast, and powerful, it's also surprisingly simple. The central part, the fuselage, is just a long aluminum tube, with a floor a third of the way up and seats bolted to it. The wing structure doubles as a fuel tank, saving space and weight. The wings run right through the fuselage under the floor, giving the wing tremendous strength. And fixed to the wings are the engines. These not only pull the plane forward and keep it in the air, they also generate the power for the controls, the crew, and the passengers. So this is what's normal, what's routine. A few hundred people sitting inside a metal tube 7 miles above the ground. The temperature of the air outside is about 40 below zero, and the tube is flying through it at 600 miles per hour. But the people aboard are warm and mostly unworried. Because of all the ways to travel, this is the safest. And one reason why is pilot training.
Estimating Zhang 21460, Z for next, over.
Every year, every pilot's skills and responses are tested in a flight simulator. A variety of emergencies can be experienced, the whole flight deck rolling just like a real plane. The simulator feels incredibly real, and the pilots have to treat it as real.
Lights on.
When a problem pops up, the pilot and first officer together work through a checklist until they've isolated and solved it.
Note, inoperative items, right thrust reverser, auto brake, normal brakes. Roll rate may be reduced in flight, speed brake effectiveness.
Computers often do this job automatically, but the ultimate backup has to be human. In the air, these problems can come and go without the passengers ever knowing. And they're not generally aware of what's happening on the ground down below either. Piloting is only part of flying a plane. The other part is air traffic control. Air traffic control's job, essentially, is to keep thousands of planes that are in the air from running into each other. Every major airport controls a section of the world's airspace and all the planes that are in it. The controllers keep track of them by radar, talk to them by radio, and generally act as traffic policemen. They can stack the planes, have them descend in a spiral until the ones that have landed have taxied out of the way and there's space for the next in line. Farther away from the airport are the aerial freeways. With no white lines or road signs, these lanes of traffic have to be managed by radar and the human voice alone. Every airplane's height is controlled, as well as its distance to any other aircraft, along with the direction the airplane is heading.
RSky 6122, make the hard right Zulu, hold shorter runway 22 right at Golf, stay on this frequency.
Introducing Good Hands Roadside from Allstate. It's free to join, and you don't have to be an Allstate customer to use it. Now, help is never far away.
Get the free to join, pay only when you use it roadside assistance. Register at allstate.com/roadside.
Husqvarna, taming the wild.
Long before a Cummins diesel engine powered a Ram truck, it roared to life out here and proved itself here and here. And it's now delivering best-in-class towing here and unsurpassed torque here. The Ram 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty covers you everywhere. Ram.
Right now, get $1,000 bonus cash on 2011 Ram heavy-duty diesel models.
We're thinking seafood. Who's got the best seafood tonight?
For around $10.
Only Golden Corral has the Seafood Lover's Paradise. It's all on our endless dinner buffet, still for around $10, and join us on Sunday, April 24th for Easter.
I'm a home, and recently I flooded.
Excuse me?
Him? He's helping me get back to normal. Hey, I don't even live in a floodplain, but I've got flood insurance, so I'm covered.
How's that?
Nice.
Good.
Flood insurance helps make your home a home again, or your me a me again. Oh, check it out, Fred. New foundation.
Got any of those in my size?
Only flood insurance covers floods. For a free brochure, call 1-888-FLOOD-08.
Wednesdays on the Military Channel. Get battle ready. See how technology is transforming warfare. From smarter and more powerful weapons.
It's like a tornado hit you.
To the most dangerous covert operations.
The challenge is to stay one step ahead of them.
Get debriefed on the military's plans to keep on winning.
It's thinking for the 21st century.
Get battle ready. Wednesdays starting at 8 on the Military Channel. The Military Channel presents An Officer in a Movie. Join veteran actor Lou Diamond Phillips and our nation's most decorated military leaders as they review the biggest war movies of all time. This weekend,
we've got a new mission.
The true story of a heroic fight for a single bridge that led Allied forces to a crucial victory during World War II. An Officer in a Movie presents The Bridge at Remagen. Tomorrow at 8. Only on the Military Channel.
This little acrobat is known as the Extra 300S. It does things no big airliner would dare do. It's just a matter of manipulating the three main flight controls. Patty Wagstaff, 3-time U.S. aerobatic champion, explains.
An airplane is controlled by 3 axes. And the airplane actually rotates around its center of gravity, and there are 3 controls that a pilot uses to make it do that. And the first one would be elevator, And that's when you pull the stick back or go forward, and that makes the plane go up and down, and that is called pitch. The other one is the ailerons, which bank the plane. So you move the stick to the left or to the right, and you can see the ailerons come up. So if I want to turn left or bank left, I put the stick in the left corner, the aileron comes up, and the plane banks to the left. And the third one is rudder, and that slides the plane from side to side.
Elevator, ailerons, and rudder. Up and down, right and left, and side to side. Combine these in various ways, and a plane can do almost anything but fly backwards.
Once you have the hang of all that, you can really have some fun.
As for the plane, it's particularly tough and well-balanced, but it's essentially no different from any other airplane and works according to the same scientific principles. The most basic of those principles is lift. Lift is what keeps an airplane up. The faster air moves, the lower its pressure. Air pushed up over the front of a wing must accelerate, and so travels faster than the air passing under it. That higher airspeed creates an area of low pressure above the wing. The wing rises up into it. The greater the angle of the wing to the air, the faster the air moves over the wingtop, and the more lift is generated. With hundreds of square feet of wing space, it's enough to lift hundreds of tons. Even when cruising, the wings are angled slightly upwards. This is known as the angle of incidence. It's built into the plane and cannot be changed. The angle of attack, controlled by the pilot, is the angle of the wing relative to the airflow. Upside down, it doesn't matter. The wings are still at the right angle. Speed is all important too. The faster a plane moves, the more lift it has. So when it's coming in for a landing, it has to tilt its wings back more. The air pressure lowers above the wing and rises below it. The effect is more lift. Then it levels out again when it's ready to touch the runway, and lack of lift lets it drop down out of the air. The shape of the wings matters too. It influences speed. Slow planes like transporters and trainers can have straight wings, which give lots of lift, but also lots of drag. Faster planes, such as airliners, cut drag by having wings that are swept back a little. But the farther wings are swept back, the weaker they become. This was a problem with supersonic warplanes until the delta wing was adopted. It swept so far back that it merged with the tail, but it was strengthened by spars that ran right across the whole airplane. Delta wings could travel at many times the speed of sound, but they weren't so good for slow takeoffs and landings. This led to the ultimate solution: wings that can swing to suit the plane's speed. Back for fast, forward for slow. Airliners have too much else on board to accommodate the mechanism for swing wings, but they have another way of increasing lift. The leading edge is on hinges, and at the back, there are flaps. When the plane comes in for a landing, the front slats and the rear flaps are lowered. This increases the wing area by 1/4 and the lift by nearly half. It means that a plane that can cruise at 600 miles an hour can slow to about 100 when landing. Effective flight control is the key to aviation. The tremendous achievement of the Wright brothers was not so much in struggling into the air as in developing ways of controlling the machine once it became airborne. Their control was very limited at first. No flaps, no ailerons, just some bending wingtips that let them bank a little. And 7 years later, in 1910, when flying had progressed from a curiosity to a rich man's hobby, there still wasn't much better control. The Avro triplane had a car-type steering wheel which the pilot used to bend the wings, a system known as wing warping. In 1910, planes were still made of wooden frames covered with cloth. Exposed wires controlled the rudders and elevators.
Contact. Still on.
But engines had advanced a lot. They were by now steadily increasing in power.
We all have a bloodline, but it takes a bold spirit to say, it's my turn, then go out and prove it. The new 2011 Jeep Compass, genetically engineered with Jeep 4x4 capability, iconic beauty, and up to 29 mpg. The 2011 Jeep Compass, the evolution of a legendary bloodline. Well-qualified lessees can get a 2011 Jeep Compass Sport 4x2 for $239 a month.
Mayflower Movers are always by your side. Everything you need, from full-service moves to portable containers. Mayflower, every step of the way.
Relationships fail. Systems fail. Failure is part of life. Fram filters are tested beyond any conditions you'll ever encounter to help make sure failure is not part of your engine's life. Fram, don't fail your engine.
The Veterans Administration works for the government. The Rep for Vets works for you. If you have a disability issue with the VA, call the Rep for Vets, 1-888-5-REP-VET.
The Military Channel presents An Officer in a Movie. Join veteran actor Lou Diamond Phillips and our nation's most decorated military leaders as they review the biggest war movies of all time. This weekend,
we've got a new mission.
The true story of a heroic fight for a single bridge that led Allied forces to a crucial victory during World War II. An Officer in a Movie presents The Bridge at Remagen. Tomorrow at 8. Only on the Military Channel.
If you're a diabetic and currently trying to lose weight, please stay tuned to this important message. A market trial offer is starting now for a revolutionary breakthrough in weight loss called Glucosalin, and you are eligible to try it free for 30 days. We are looking for callers to receive a free trial, so call immediately, 1-800-578-8805. If the line is busy, please keep trying. Clinical studies of the key ingredient in Glucosalin have shown this ingredient to be effective in accelerating weight loss. What's even more impressive is that it also supports healthy blood sugar metabolism at the same time. And now this new formula is being released to the general public, and you're eligible to try Glucosalin right now for 30 days. Finally, clinically proven weight loss and healthy blood sugar metabolism in one pill. Call immediately to find out how to receive your free 30-day trial. 1-800-578-8805. 1-800-578-8805. If the line is busy, please keep trying.
Everywhere you look, the wonders of science abound. Simple ideas, big innovations, great minds using science to change our world. Do you have the next big idea? Will you be America's next top young scientist? If you think you have it, check this out. Go online now to learn more and your chance to win $25,000 and other great prizes. Give us your next big idea today.
Technology is taking over Thursday nights on the Military Channel. Go inside the military's greatest gadgets.
The challenge is to stay one step ahead of them.
From weapons.
It is the Cadillac of semi-automatic firearms.
To warships.
They're an unbelievable machine.
See innovative technology become battle tested.
It was perhaps the greatest battle implement ever devised.
The M24 is a battle-proven system.
Technology is taking over tonight at 8 on the Military Channel.
The engine on the British Avro triplane wasn't all that powerful, though, and that's why it had to have 3 wings. The slower the plane, the more wing area is needed for lift. As frail as this Edwardian gentleman's conveyance may have looked, it was like a flying blueprint for most of the planes in the air today. The central body, the fuselage, contained the engine and the pilot's cockpit. And the tail had a fin for vertical stability and a tailplane for horizontal stability. All the planes of this era were slow, fragile machines with limited range and not of much use beyond recreation, a lot like today's microlights. But this was a necessary stage in aviation's childhood. The airplane was just 7 years old now, but the culmination of a dream as ancient as humanity. That people could fly at all was regarded as a near miracle. And now that all the basic breakthroughs had been made, nothing was going to restrain the airplane to a form as primitive as this. In fact, only 6 years passed before planes were climbing to 20,000 feet, performing aerobatic feats such as loops and rolls and going at over 100 miles an hour. Airplanes had become more solid, no longer the bare wooden frame. The main impetus for this burst of improvement was the First World War. At first, pilots took pot shots at each other with pistols, but soon the fighter was born. Ailerons had been invented, which made tight turns possible. The plane still needed big, strong wheels for takeoffs from grass strips, as runways had yet to be invented. Mounted on the fuselage behind the propeller was a machine gun, and in a leap of technological imagination, it was connected to the engine and finely timed so that the bullets wouldn't hit the blades. Even though the planes looked different, they were very evenly matched. Victory in a dogfight was mainly determined by the skill of the pilot. And that introduced a whole new, previously unimaginable set of military tactics. Fighting while flying. A pilot would fly high, dive to gain speed, and try to come up on his opponent from the rear, unseen. Still the basic maneuver in air combat. The best way was to outturn the enemy, fly in a tight circle, and then try to come at him from behind. If that didn't work, the hunted could try suddenly climbing, turning, and rolling to make the hunter overshoot. Vision is the predominant survival sense for pilots. Darkness, bad weather, or just getting lost were often as deadly as bullets. Early pilots would navigate by roads or rivers if they could see them. If they couldn't, they had nothing to go by. And if you can't even see the horizon, it's hard to know not only where you are, but which way up you are. Even gravity can let you down. In a roll, for instance, the motion itself generates a force that presses people into their seats, whichever way up they are. Inside the plane during the roll, down is always towards the floor. Even when the ground is clearly above the cockpit, a drink in a glass is convinced it's being held the right way up. So one of the first things a flying student has to learn is, in the absence of clear vision, trust no other senses. Trust instead the impartial instruments. Flying instructors put blinders on their students so that the instruments are all they can see.
The next thing is to level the wings, using the artificial horizon and rolling the arrow to the arrow.
Roger.
Lastly, pitching the aircraft level bar to bar.
Roger.
Okay? What I'm going to do is to put the airplane into an unusual position. I want you to be following me through on the controls and looking down.
Putting instruments before instinct is one of the hardest things a pilot has to learn.
Technology is taking over Thursday nights on the Military Channel. Go inside the military's greatest gadgets.
The challenge is to stay one step ahead of them.
From weapons.
It is the Cadillac of semi-automatic firearms.
To warships.
They're an unbelievable machine.
See innovative technology become battle-tested.
It was perhaps the greatest battle implement ever devised. The M24 is a battle-proven system.
Technology is taking over tonight at 8 on the Military Channel.
We now offer phone service for $1.70 a month with MagicJack. That's just $19.95 a year. $19.95 a year. We give you free local and long distance and your own phone number. Make us your new phone company or add a second line with MagicJack.
Millions of men 45 and older just don't feel like they used to. Are you one of them? Remember when you had more energy for 18 holes with your buddies? More passion for the one you love? More fun with your family and friends? It could be a treatable condition called low testosterone or low T.
Come on, stop living in the shadows. You've got a life to live.
So don't blame it on aging. Talk to your doctor and go to isitlowt.com to find out more.
I was anxious.
Like the white elephant in the room.
It was pages and pages and pages. I didn't like looking at my bills.
They lure you in with these bundle packages, and then at the end of the day, you look at your bill and you can't even understand your bill.
When I switched my home phone to Vonage, I felt this great sense of relief.
Knowing what my home phone bill is going to be every month is really comforting.
It's so affordable. I mean, you can't go wrong.
I'm Jamie Thompson, and this was my last bill before I switched to Vonage.
Switch your old phone to Vonage today and get unlimited domestic and international calling now with no annual contract.
When the military needs some heavy metal, they turn to these guys. Twin brothers Mike and Jeffrey Howe have built some of the most advanced vehicles you've never seen. And what started as a small family business has blown up into something big. Can a mom-and-pop weapon shop go toe-to-toe with the big boys? One family will risk it all to find out. How and How Tech. All new Wednesday at 10 on Military.
Is your computer running slowly? Does it take more than 3 seconds for your email to load? Are you frustrated with error messages, blue screens, computer freezes, and crashes? These are not only annoying, but can cause permanent damage to your computer. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, your computer and your privacy may be at risk, because these are usually the telltale signs of a virus, and it can only get worse until you act. Get a free diagnosis at mycleanpc.com.
My Clean PC is outstanding, and my computer is running faster than ever.
My Clean PC came through with flying colors when no one else could.
My Clean PC totally cleaned up my system and increased my speed.
MyCleanPC.com can remove spyware, viruses, and infected emails, all speeding up your PC's performance. It offers all-in-one protection, and it's been downloaded by millions of users. Even if you have antivirus software, your computer could still be infected. Find out instantly with a free comprehensive diagnosis at mycleanpc.com.
We wish the people of Japan all the best in their efforts to rebuild and recover from this terrible tragedy.
I just want you to know that you are in our hearts and in our minds, and I can't imagine the pain that you guys are enduring.
And our best wishes and thoughts are with you.
We wish you all the best with your rebuilding and recovery efforts. You are not alone.
From everyone here on Discovery Channel, we wish you the best in your efforts to rebuild and get life back to normal.
And you have control.
I have control.
Actually, it's a gyroscope that has control of that dial. It tells the plane's angle to the ground.
And I have control.
You have control.
Well done, that was excellent.
A gyroscope is just a sophisticated spinning top. And a top, when it's spinning fast, stays perpendicular to the Earth's surface, no matter how far the base it's spinning on is tilted. A bar fixed to the gyroscope's plane of rotation is always parallel to the horizon. This instrument, in fact, is called the artificial horizon and was first developed in the 1920s. Instruments have advanced a lot between then and now, but planes still need artificial horizons. It was instrumentation that made the early long-distance passenger flights possible. One element of aviation that was surprisingly slow to develop was the runway. So when people started building large passenger planes, the usual grassy fields were no longer firm enough for takeoff and landing. But instead of modifying the ground, they modified the planes. They made them half boat so that they could take off and land on stretches of water. In the 20s and 30s, the flying boat was the elite way to travel. A round-trip ticket on Pan American's first transatlantic flight in 1939 cost $675. Adjusted for inflation, that would be about twice the price of a Concorde ticket today. But even at those rates, the airlines couldn't survive just on passengers. They made their money on subsidies from governments in exchange for carrying airmail. The flying boats could only carry about 30 passengers, and the width of the Atlantic was the most that the biggest of them could manage in a single hop. Longer trips meant refueling stops. But air travel was very modern and very, very romantic. It also had no end of challenges. After the First World War, the skies were full of people trying to fly farther, higher, and faster. The GB racing plane got its speed from the fact that each of its wings were just 9 feet long and offered hardly any drag. And this is a GB racer today. It was built by Delmar Benjamin to the original 1930s plans. He tours air shows with it, performing aerobatics.
The GB was designed back in 1932 strictly for an assault on the world speed record. Very small wings and a very large engine was the concept.
And a pretty dangerous concept, too. 3 GB pilots were killed trying to set speed records. That doesn't worry Benjamin, though. He's aware of the GB's limitations and is too good a pilot to push the plane too far.
This airplane has more fuselage area. Side area on the fuselage is about 110 square feet, as opposed to total wing area of 74 square feet.
The large fuselage makes it easy for the GB to fly on its side, but the small wings mean that unless the pilot makes constant adjustments, it could just as easily go into a fatal spin. There are visibility problems too, and Benjamin can actually see better when he's flying upside down.
On landing, as you can see, the big snout this airplane has, if you're lined up with the runway, you can't really see the airport. As you're going downwind, you get a good look of the runway, but as you turn into final, you lose track of the runway. You just have to get a mental picture of that airport and then come around and land. And landing approach speeds are comparable to F-16 fighters, 140 miles an hour on the approach, touchdown around 120 miles an hour.
The GB was part of the fun side of flying, the airfares and races and daredevil stunts. Human flight was still young, and people were literally trying out their wings. But parallel to this was the serious business of air transport, of getting people more and more quickly from one place to another. In 1932, this plane made its first flight. It was the British de Havilland Dragon biplane, and it was pretty typical of the passenger planes of the time. Just an ordinary biplane with an extended fuselage. It was soon to have some stiff competition. A few months after the appearance of the Dragon, enter the Douglas. It can be recognized now as the first of the modern airliners. All metal, relatively spacious, and big enough to carry 30 passengers, 3 times as many as the Dragon. Pressurized cabins had yet to be developed, so neither could fly above 10,000 feet. Above that, passengers would have to wear oxygen masks. If a plane hit bad weather, it would have to fly through it rather than over it. The Douglas was not only bigger than the Dragon, but a lot faster. Without struts or wires and with retractable wheels and only 2 wings, it had far less drag. It became the prototype for planes in the war to come. Paratroops over Europe, dropping out of the military version, the C-47, which became the workhorse of the Allies. Just as the First World War had converted the rickety flying machine into a maneuverable fighter, so the Second took sedate airliners and magnified them into new sizes and shapes with fierce functions. The bombers. These American B-17s and B-24s, these flying fortresses and liberators, were meant to destroy the enemy's very infrastructure, cities, factories, and transport systems.
Lawn gnomes, bird baths, and the competition are officially on notice. Introducing Craftsman Turn-Tight Tractors, a best-in-class 8-inch turning radius, 30% tighter than any other tractor. Craftsman, trust in your hands.
Lincoln's been shot.
You were charged with conspiracy to kill Abraham Lincoln?
Time magazine calls The Conspirator.
I am no assassin.
Provocative, brilliant, riveting, and suspenseful from start to finish.
She must be buried and forgotten.
Gripping, brought vividly to life by director Robert Redford.
I can't ignore what's going on in that courtroom.
Based on the untold true story.
There is no limit to how far the prosecution is willing to go.
The Conspirator, rated PG-13, starts Friday.
It's time to take matters into your own hands, especially when a little work can mean big savings. AutoZone's got the advice and expertise you need to take on any job and get it done right. Because do it yourself doesn't mean you have to do it alone. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
If you're a veteran with a 100% service-connected disability and your family has Champ VA, here's some important news. With our Champ VA supplement, your family can have quality health insurance at very little cost. You earn this health benefit. Why buy private insurance or employers' health plans? Champ VA with our supplement gives you complete health coverage.
We also offer TRICARE supplements.
Call 1-800-899-1900.
We wish the people of Japan all the best in their efforts to rebuild and recover from this terrible tragedy.
I just want you to know that you are in our hearts and in our minds, and I can't imagine the pain that you guys are enduring.
And our best wishes and thoughts are with you.
We wish you all the best with your rebuilding and recovery efforts. You are not alone.
From everyone here on Discovery Channel, we wish you the best in your efforts to rebuild and get life back to normal.
Tuesday on an all-new Deadliest Catch.
Sink or swim right here.
We got a big problem.
Jack!
Jake driving the boat is going to make this long day
Better turn around.
into an even longer day.
And you better tell him to stop throwing it.
Everybody back in the house right now. Now! Who's the captain? You are! I don't want to hear any more back talk!
An all-new season of Deadliest Catch continues Tuesday at 9, only on Discovery.
Wednesdays on the Military Channel. Get battle ready. See how technology is transforming warfare. From smarter and more powerful weapons.
It's like a tornado hit you.
To the most dangerous covert operations.
The challenge is to stay one step ahead of them.
Get debriefed on the military's plans to keep on winning.
It's thinking for the 21st century.
Get battle ready. Wednesdays starting at 8 on the Military Channel.
American bombers flew from their English bases in daylight. Their overall mission was to bomb German targets and get back before nightfall. Both coming and going, they had to beat off fighters that by now carried rows of machine guns and cannons and attack them like harpies. The obvious solution for the bombers was to be escorted by fighters of their own. But fighters didn't have the bombers' fuel capacity and range until the Mustang. This fighter finally could go all the way with them and all the way back. The Mustang saved the daylight bomber offensive and proved a decisive war-winning weapon. When the war was over, commercial aviation inherited a bonanza. All over the world, there were new concrete runways built for the bomber fleets. And the first of a new generation of airliners, the Lockheed Constellation, was ready to go. The great innovation in this plane was pressurization, which transformed civil aviation. The pressure of the air in the cabin was kept high as the airplane rose up into the thinner air of higher altitude. This gave the Constellation a whole new dimension to fly in. The old ceiling of 10,000 feet could finally be breached without the need for oxygen masks. High-altitude flying is not only above turbulent storms. In the thinner air, it's more efficient. The Connie had 4 mighty engines, and for stability, 3 tail fins. It could have had a single, much taller one, but the hangars of the day didn't have high enough ceilings or doors. But the Connie's biggest problem was its engines. They had thousands of moving parts slamming back and forth, and they broke down a lot. TWA was averaging 10 engine failures a day. What was needed was a new kind of engine altogether, and there was a new kind of engine available. It had been developed during the war. It was the jet. Jet engines are more reliable and more powerful, and unlike piston engines, the higher they fly, the better they work. A jet engine is almost as simple as it is sophisticated. There are only 3 main moving parts, spinning smoothly in the same direction. What the engine does, basically, is suck in air from the front and explode it out the back faster than it came in. The fans in the front draw in huge amounts of air, which is then compressed. Then fuel is injected into the compressed air and lit. The mixture heats, expands, and blasts out the back, thrusting the plane forward. Modern jets also pass air around the engine, which at no cost in fuel creates even more thrust. The first jet airliner appeared just 4 years after the Second World War. It was the Comet, produced by the British company de Havilland, and it was a gigantic leap forward. Too gigantic, perhaps, because after only 20 months in service, comets started falling out of the sky. In just 12 months, there were 3 unexplained crashes. As wreckage was retrieved, the whole comet fleet was grounded, and investigations began. While the crash investigators continued with the comet, Boeing launched their first jet airliner, the 707. The 707 first flew in 1954, 5 years after the comet. Then in the 1960s came the Boeing 747, the Jumbo. Originally an Air Force transport plane, the 747 had been specifically designed to cram in as much equipment or people as possible. Boeing didn't, in the end, win the military contract, but it didn't abandon the idea either. It just adapted it to civilian needs, and with it, invented one of the world's most successful planes. Airlines are able to configure the 747 in many ways. It can have up to 500 seats on 2 decks. Be 1/3 cargo, 2/3 passengers, or completely freight. 135 tons can be loaded on tracks through an opening nose. But did people want to go cheaper or faster?
The world has now become a smaller place. To travel a mile now takes just 3 seconds. 20 miles takes less than 1 minute. Now, there's the phenomenal Concorde.
It flies at twice the speed of sound, close to the edge of space. Even though the air there is very thin, the heat from friction at such a speed causes the whole plane to expand. The fuselage lengthens by up to 10 inches. But flying faster than sound takes 3 times as much energy as subsonic flight. And Concorde has to carry so much fuel that it doesn't have room for freight. This is what makes it expensive. Concorde's delta wings, necessary for fast flying, have to be angled back greatly when the plane slows to land, and the nose hinges down so the flight crew can see the runway. Technologically, Concorde is amazing, but in the end, the majority of passengers wanted economy rather than speed, and only 14 Concordes were ever built. At supersonic speeds, Concorde can't turn sharply, not like Patty Wagstaff's little plane, because the G-force for passengers and crew would be crushing. G-force is what happens when the acceleration of a plane in a turn replicates and magnifies the force of gravity. The plane's occupants can suddenly be 10 times heavier.
Well, G-force is 1 times the force of gravity, so when we're standing on the Earth and we're walking, that's 1 G. When you're in an airplane, and actually even flying in a commercial plane, you can sometimes feel G's when the pilot pulls up, even on takeoff, and you're pushed back in your seat. That's a G-force. When you take a small aerobatic plane like the one that I fly, and you pull back on the stick to go up, and you're going very fast, you pull a lot of G's. An unlimited aerobatic pilot like myself will pull up to about 10 G's during a flight. Each G adds the weight of the person to it. So if I'm pulling 10 G's, I weigh over 1,000 pounds. In order for an unlimited pilot to pull the amount of Gs that we normally pull, the airplane, like the Extra, has to be very, very strong and very, very lightweight as well. So this airplane is made of the highest tech composite materials available today. It weighs not much more than a Harley-Davidson, but it's capable of pulling more Gs than just about any other plane in existence.
The latest fighters come close, though. Modern materials and computer-aided controls make them able to turn and roll extremely fast. Now the plane can stand more Gs than the pilot.
Wednesdays on the Military Channel. Get battle ready. See how technology is transforming warfare. From smarter and more powerful weapons.
It's like a tornado hit you.
To the most dangerous covert operations.
The challenge is to stay one step ahead of them.
Get debriefed on the military's plans to keep on winning.
It's thinking for the 21st century.
Get battle ready. Wednesdays starting at 8 on the Military Channel.
Truth is, if you don't have your motorcycle insurance where you have your car insurance, you're paying too much. At Allstate, when you combine, you save up to 30%. Dollar for dollar, nobody protects the rider better than Allstate.
I just want to get this on tape, so the price you tell me here will be the same at the register.
But it will be the same.
You get that? Yeah.
No surprise pricing is one way we're different. And right now, buy one pair of glasses and get another pair free. Pearl Vision, clearly different.
For the outdoorsman who goes to extremes, a truck built to do the same. The new 2011 Ram Outdoorsman. Ram.
Mayflower Movers are always by your side. Everything you need, from full-service moves to portable containers. Mayflower, every step of the way.
As a home, there are things I'm supposed to do, like keep one of these over your head. Well, I wasn't supposed to need flood insurance, but I have it. Fred over here chose not to have it. Me? I've got a plan. Fred, Fred, what is your plan?
Do I look like I have a plan?
Not really.
Only flood insurance covers floods. For a free brochure, call 1-888-FLOOD-56.
The Military Channel presents An Officer in a Movie. Join veteran actor Lou Diamond Phillips and our nation's most decorated military leaders as they review the biggest war movies of all time. This weekend,
we've got a new mission.
The true story of a heroic fight for a single bridge that led Allied forces to a crucial victory during World War II. An Officer in a Movie presents The Bridge at Remagen. Tomorrow at 8. Only on the Military Channel.
Would you trust me? You want me to take your word for it?
This guy I met online, he could be anyone.
How can I know who to trust? Background checks are no longer just for corporations. Thanks to BeenVerified.com, you can run instant background checks on anyone, even yourself, right from your home computer.
Dating online can be scary, but with Been Verified, I know exactly who I'm meeting before the first date.
My accountant, my mortgage broker, now I know I can trust him.
No stranger comes around my growing family without a background check. With Been Verified, you can search anyone's background. What turns up just might surprise you. Find out before it's too late.
With Been Verified, you can trust me.
I make sure I know before I date.
Been Verified protects me and my family.
There's a lot to be said about a mother's intuition, but isn't it better to know for sure? It's easy to keep you and your family safe. Visit BeenVerified.com now for a free trial of unlimited background checks.
BeenVerified.com. Technology is taking over Thursday nights on the Military Channel. Go inside the military's greatest gadgets.
The challenge is to stay one step ahead of them.
From weapons.
It is the Cadillac of semi-automatic firearms.
To warships.
They're an unbelievable machine.
See innovative technology become battle-tested.
It was perhaps the greatest battle implement ever devised.
The M24 is a battle-proven system.
Technology is taking over tonight at 8 on the Military Channel.
Except for advances in computer technology, engine efficiency, and carrying capacity, the evolution of the airliner has slowed right down. With a new 747 costing $170 million, airlines need to keep their planes in the air as much as possible. This jumbo has just arrived in New York from London. In 3 hours, it will be flying back. In that time, 600 pieces of luggage and 20 tons of cargo will be unloaded and then replaced. And an incredible 5 tons of food and drink will have to be loaded on board. A 747 doesn't do miles to the gallon. Its gas consumption gets close to 6 gallons a mile. If that makes it sound like a real gas guzzler, remember that it carries about 400 passengers at very nearly the speed of sound. If the same passengers travel by automobile, 2 per car, the fuel cost would be about the same. And in the jet, they are traveling to their destination 10 times faster. Airplanes are very efficient machines. The French-built Cricket has 2 tiny single-cylinder engines adding up to 36 horsepower. The car has a V8 engine with 360 horsepower. It doesn't seem a fair contest. Both machines have the same top speed, but the plane's a lot lighter, and the only friction it feels is the air across its body. The plane will win. Nowadays, there's a plane to suit anything, from tiny sports models to huge transporters that can carry whole armies halfway around the world. In fact, such a variety that one of the smallest could actually fly through one of the biggest. In 1903, the Wrights' first flight covered 120 feet in 12 seconds. If the Flyer had taken off by the Galaxy's tail fin, it would have traveled about half the length of the Giant's fuselage. Yet the Galaxy was flying only 65 years after Kitty Hawk. Once it was invented, the speed of the airplane through time seems to have been even faster than its speed through the sky.
The next generation of jet fighters is